All right, we're up. We're recording. So on the call today, myself, Johnathan Knight, brown belt under Samuel Braga, student at Gracie Barra Knoxville, also co-owner at our small academy, Maryville Jiu Jitsu, down in Blount County, Tennessee. Joseph Watson, black belt under Samuel Braga, co-owner, Maryville Jiu Jitsu, Gracie Barra Knoxville student, and the infamous Samuel Braga, Gracie Barra Knoxville, professor, world champion multiple times, jewelry maker, Renaissance man on the call today. So we wanted to get this call together. While we're training, we tell stories and we get a little bit of history, but oftentimes it's little bits and pieces here and there while we're training, and we don't get the whole story. So our goal today is to learn a little bit about the man, Samuel Braga, from himself. So first of all, I want to kick it off. Thanks, Samuel, for joining us today. Coach Joe and I, Professor Joe and I, we're really loving these video casts, man. We had Edwin on yesterday. That was interesting.
Funny guy,
man. He's a cool dude. He had a lot to say about you, man. He had a lot to say about the grind. You'll have to check out the video.
I'll check it out. You guys released it already?
Yeah, we just put it out. I guess late last night.
I'm putting it up into clips too, so I'll put like a clip where he's talking about training with you and stuff like that. And
just tag me on that, man, because I honestly, I've been like so like busy with certain things that I was not able to go on a social media as much. Just tag me so this way I can see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He talks a little bit about training with you in 2012 and finding out. Yeah, he talks about when he found out what the grind really was. He had obviously some great things to say about you, and so check that video out. We'll tag you in it.
Tag me on.
Yeah, for sure. We've had a couple of guests on. We've been waiting to have you on just when you had an opportunity, with a busy schedule, and we're glad that it's tonight. So here we go. First things first, I want to kick this off by saying, look, everybody knows that at this point, especially with Draculino putting it out there, everybody knows you're the Berimbolo creator, and we can talk a little bit about that, but I want to go even deeper, man. I want to find out about not just the technical side of Samuel, but the mental side, because I keep bringing this up in podcast after podcast. Our mentality is really what makes us, exceptional and champions. So I want to really dig into who you are as a person, where you came from, and just let the listeners find out some things that maybe they've never known, before. So first things first, give us a little bit of your just, history, when you got started, and kind of what it was like in Brazil for you that, maybe that first day you started training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So thank you guys for the opportunity. This is an awesome opportunity, especially for a lot of people. They're staying home. They're looking for some form of entertainment, and it's a good way to spend a day sharing and listen to stories, right? So I started in Brazil in early 2000s with my jiu-jitsu career. Of course, I was a martial arts before that, and the whole reason, I think, John and I think we have kind of same background. It was more like a self-defense, being the smaller guy. And it's easy being I think there's a thing that being smaller, you're always going to be that person you have to be ready, because you're going to be picked on pretty easy, right? And that was my main thing, in high school and school in general, the self-confidence aspect, right? So it's so amazing, because the martial arts, when you start the martial arts, is that you don't have much confidence, when you start martial arts. And when you start the martial arts, start getting so much more confident, because you're aware of the skill set you have. So when I started jiu-jitsu, it was pretty funny, because I asked my friends, and I did taekwondo before when I was a kid, and then I was watching UFC, and I asked my friends hey man, what do you think about jiu-jitsu? And my friends told me, two martial arts, they are the toughest, because in Brazil you don't have wrestling, okay? So Brazil is not known for wrestling. You can see, there's no Brazilians in the Olympics, I think. But in Brazil, it was they said jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing. It's like you have to know those. If you want to know how to defend yourself, or you want to learn how to boxing, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. All those three are legit. And then they give me a little bit. I got a little bit study behind background. I was like, man, I don't want to get punched in the face. Honestly, I mean, I like to draw. I like to do different things. I like, so I don't want to get punched in the face. I want to go towards the grappling aspect, and watching you hoist Gracie at the time. And my friends told me, man, listen, man, it's rough. Jiu-Jitsu is rough, man. They're going to smash you hard. I was like, I don't care, man. I just want to learn. So my first class was epic because, that's one thing you guys that are watching now, the culture of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is way different now, okay? I say culture because it's basically become a culture already. And the culture we have, our schools, Maryville and Gracie Barra Knoxville is like so welcoming. You go there, you feel like you're part of the family. You feel like you're part of the community. It's like something amazing. You feel so welcome. You feel, oh man, it's the best experience you're gonna have. But back in the day, it was not that, right? It was totally different.
Like a fight.
It's like it's a fight. It's like you're getting Big Mike. First row.
With the knee on your face.
Yeah, it's basically that idea.
Sometimes I think that I'm a little bit Brazilian, like because of my skin color, but not really because I'm just so tan and beautiful skin and all that. But no, really, sometimes I think I'm Brazilian because I like that fight style a little bit. I know it's not good for business, so Joe has to keep me in check and be like, dude, you can't beat up the guy that came in tonight just because you want him.
Anytime.
But I love that a little bit.
Initiation, right?
A little bit, right? Especially if they're a wrestler. I'm like, all right, let's see.
Let's give you a welcome card.
Yeah, if Jonathan's over on the side of the mat, like kind of warming up, and he's like eyeing the guy,
man.
it's about to go down.
I know it because I've seen it before. I remember this guy that came into class when it was a 6 a.m. basically. And this guy came in, he's like a wrestling background. And John was walking side to side on the mats, sized the guy up, and like stretching, sized the guy up, looking back and forth. I was like, I know he wants to roll with this guy. No doubt. The first chance he has, like, hey man, you want to roll? And John at the time, man, is just starting, and he wanted that heat, man, and like from the beginning.
Yeah, but I think but that's what you're saying it was like in Brazil, right? I mean, it was
yeah.
A fight.
I mean, that's what thing was in Brazil. Like in the first class that got there, it was like was basically the guys want to test me. They test me if I was going to be able to take it. This guy really basically the mentality was this guy really want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just to want to have that, because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai in Brazil is basically. If you tell somebody, hey, you do martial arts, they say, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That itself is already, you are really be respected. Nobody's gonna mess with you. You have that title, like, oh man, this guy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I want to mess around with this guy. So it's something to be proud of. We are proud today. But before, it was even more like not allowing people. They're not into it. They're not gonna be into it. So they want to test right away. So what they did was basically that. They whooped me bad. It was a whooping for like, I remember that this guy was a blue belt, and he came to me and he's like, hey, do you want to roll? That was my first class. I didn't know anything. And he rolled with me for like 10 minutes. He put my mark 20 times. My arms, I put my hands like holding my arms like this. And I was like so wore out. And he's like, doing more? I was like, oh man, I don't think that I'm not getting anything wrong with you. I don't think you're going to get anything wrong with me. And he's like, oh, really? Are you a sissy? I was like, okay, let's go. And then he went for about 5 more minutes until he was done with me,
Was that at Draculino's place, or where was that?
Yeah, so I started like with how I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My house was like, I was privileged to have my house. It was like, Draculino school was like a little bit further from this first school that I started, which is like 3 blocks from my house, So I just walked there. I was 16. So it was easy for me to walk. So my dad was work, my mom is at work, so I didn't have to wait for anybody to take me to jiu-jitsu. I would just walk there. So that's why I started there. But he was, I made my research, you know. One thing I was really blessed with, I had Draculino, which was like a little bit further up the road, and I have this guy 2-3 blocks down, and I would just walk there. He was also Draculino student. He was actually really, I mean, he is amazing athlete, man. This guy is just, I mean, I showed Baby Joe a couple of this guy's picture. Is he
the jacked up guy?
Yeah, I showed you as well. He's jacked. This guy's it's like a, you know, remember the Master Universe action figure? It was just, that guy is
he's
just
like a bodybuilder. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a bodybuilder, man. He's a beast, you know.
So
And,
when you first started, Samuel, was it just self-motivated, like you just wanted to try it out, or did you have like a friend or something that you went with that you got?
man, I just did by myself, man. It was so terrifying, man, because I went there by myself.
Yeah.
I went there, checked the school out, and
Because everybody's nervous the first class of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Like if you're a good athlete, whatever, you're kind of like nervous.
yeah, and I kind of tried to prepare myself. And sup, Terra? So I tried to prepare myself mentally, physically to get there, right? But man, there's no preparation for jiu-jitsu, honestly. You can run. Everybody goes with the mindset, man, I'm gonna get myself physically prepared for Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Listen, I did run. I mean, I was young. I ran, I swam, I did everything. And guess what? I gas out. It does not matter.
It's a different condition. You know, it's different. What did you after that first day, you go home, you're laying in your bed that night, what are you thinking?
I was like, man, I have to get good at this. I mean, my mom told me, she asked me, like, how was your class? And I was like, yeah, man, I got beat up. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I need you to bring my food for me. And I need to take a long shower, and I'm going to need a lot of ice. Like, what happened? She was concerned, you know, she's like, her kid, 16, is like 17, is like, oh, man, you cannot do that to yourself. And I was like, no, I want to do it. I cannot stop like this. That'll be embarrassing, you know? Like, I was more focused on, like, because that was like the initiation of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, the aspect of, can you handle that? Can you handle the pressure? Are you what are you made of, right? So the first initiation for me is like more like a pride, you know, and I believe that people are competitive. Myself and everybody that's in Jiu-Jitsu, Johnathan and Baby Joe, you know, that take that pride, you know. I was like, listen, I'm not just gonna. The guy first, he challenged me and say, can you take it? And then I'm just like, I could not just say, hey, I'm not doing this. It'd be kind of embarrassing, you know. So I kept going. And
were you going to this place and Draculino's place?
So I started this place, you know, first because I knew the guy was a world champion several times. You know? So Eric is one of Draculino student. He won the blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt world championships in all belts. He was a national champion. He's really, you check his resume. He's a phenomenal guy. And so I was like really glad to train with him. So, man, at that time he was extremely professional because he was focused on his career. He was a brown belt at the time, so his focus, you go there, you know, he pushed the class really well. So he was never late. Everything was on point. So I never felt that, you know, you didn't have a lot of people to train with. I never felt like I needed like to complement my training at the time. Plus I was just in a learn process, you know. I didn't know much. I was basically exposed to the jiu-jitsu for the first time in like just trying to basically assimilate as much of knowledge and training as I could, you know. And I felt like that it was really well-rounded school that I had there. Mm-hmm. And until like a year later, so I think he got a little bit, I don't know what happened to Eric. I don't know, maybe it was something going on with him, but I don't necessarily know. But he a little bit sidetracked a little bit. And after a year of that, he lost a little bit of focus, and he was not teaching us the class on time. So he started like not, I mean, there were some classes not even there, you know, and you know, and you an athlete, like let's pretend that you got in a position that, no, I was an athlete, and I want to be like trained every day and to have learning, right? But when you imagine you go there, the instructor's not there to teach you any new technique, and he's not there. Like if the instructor's not there, that's one thing I've learned on that point. If the instructor's not there, the people are not going to show up as much. You know, the main competitors are not showing up. So I was just me and another person there, 2 more guys, you know. And then I was like, man, I cannot do that. And plus I got into a college at that point. I got into a college and my time was getting like a little bit, my schedule, you know how the school is, college. And then I was like, and then I was like, man, I'm taking jiu-jitsu serious. At that point, I already got to a little bit of tournaments, and I want to take it serious. So I was like, man, I need to train 2 or 3 times a day. Then I started adding the Draculino training to my schedule.
Yeah.
And
I was just gonna say, like, that's interesting about your first coach. Like, I think it's hard. Like, it's hard to run a competition school. Like, that's one thing I've always liked Gracie Barra, man. Like, every day you're pushing the guys like so hard. It's like over time that's easy to do for like a little bit, but over the years, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, like that's hard to do, create that environment. And you really don't see that many guys doing it, you know?
Exactly.
I think it's tricky, especially if you're trying to compete at the same time. Like if you're trying to be an athlete and then you're trying to coach other people, it's like a tricky thing to do.
Super hard because go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in all reality, man. I was just gonna say, in all reality, normal people don't really do jiu-jitsu as a hobby, and the people that do competition are really abnormal. It's a hard thing. It's not easy. It's just not. We were talking about that with Edwin yesterday. You know, jiu-jitsu is just not easy, man. It's not.
No.
And competition is like the elite level of that. You know.
Yeah, you know, jiu-jitsu is one of the sports because you're so transparent, your performance. You know, it's transparent. You cannot like try to pat your performance at training. You know, as much as you want, like you have a good day, you have a good day. If you have a bad day, you have a bad day. You know, it's plain simple. And overcoming, right? Because some days you have like training sessions like, man, that was the day was not that great. And overcoming, coming back and only one more and push more, you know, and get the push and pushing your body, you know, like it's so much, you know, if you think about it, like, and a mental and physical aspect of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Because I was watching today, it was pretty fun because I like to, this meantime, I've been studying a lot of athletes and the motivation, you know, the motivation on athletes, you know, that's something that like, and I was asking like, can you nurture that or can that is a genetic thing, right? And I think it's both, right? Yes, you can have kind of born with that and you can have to nurture that as well on an athlete. So I was watching like Kobe Bryant, you know, about Kobe Bryant and in his fascination, his passion he had for this sport. And I was thinking, man, in a basketball court is one thing, right? You know, it's exhausting, it's pushing. But it's not like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The guy's not grinding your face against the court, you know?
No.
The guy's not like stacking you up and like choking the crap out of you. And the guy's like with the basketball and like asking you to quit over and over again, you know? So I think you have, I mean, I do admire those guys and everything, you know, they have the resilient and mentally and physically, but like, but it's not like jiu-jitsu.
Well,
They're making millions of dollars too, you know? Like,
it's not a poor man's sport either. But I was thinking about it too, like in the simplest form, all those other sports, with the exception of, you know, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, even running, or boxing, the other sports, there's a third party. The third party is the ball and the basket or whatever, right? So you actually have some other thing that's in this triangle of competition. When it's one-on-one, there's nothing else. You know, it's not right. So like basketball is a great competitive sport, but if this person scores more than this person, the thought is they scored more baskets than me, right? There's a third part to the triangle.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu, it is this person and this person.
Yes.
That's it. you know, and there's only a few sports that way, really. And it's combat sports and running, really. And,
I think it's more humiliating if you lose too. You know, like a lot of people don't compete because they don't want to have that humiliation of like getting dominated by somebody else. And it's like, you know, to get good, you have to like get over that humiliation. But I feel like MMA and jiu-jitsu and like boxing, there's no other sport that's more humiliating to lose in.
No, it's like is real, right? And like that the real aspect of it is actually can be you have to have like you have to be a different person. I mean, what I mean different, you have to have like there's something that you have in you, the heart, the desire, the will, whatever, and beyond that is like how bad do you want? You know, some people have those, but like how bad they want, because I mean, I have crap days or week, and honestly, I was like, man, I was really actually motivated to go more. And some people, they're like, man, I don't know if this is for me. You know?
What do you think draws that? Do you think that's like an ego inside of us? Like, do you think we have that ego that we just want to beat other people? Like, I've thought about that all the time myself. I'm like, do I have an ego just because I want to do this so bad to beat other people? Or like, I don't even know what that is, you know?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of ego, it's so certain components, right? Because I mean, if you think about jiu-jitsu, right? Look at the people that like there's exceptions, of course, but I think majority of the people that train jiu-jitsu, they have not only the desire and everything, but the intellectual aspect of it, you know. Is intellectual sport. What do you mean by that? It's like, because you're always thinking through things, you know, you have to think through it, be logical as well, right? Because all right, you got beat up, right? I have a training session that got beat up, but like, why did I get beat up? You have answers to it, right? So that the puzzle part, I think that keeps
problem
solving, right? Because you get beat up by one sweep, you're gonna go home. It's like, listen, man, what happened there? You're gonna try to slow down the whole process in your head, break in pieces, and be able to analyze each piece of it and be able to fix that problem. Because you don't want to run to the same problem over and over again. And then when you go back that's, you know, try to face the same problem, you want to solve that. So not only the desire that you have, the will, the ego, but also the problem solving and be able to actually troubleshoot through the technique. And even because I think like a lot of the times what happened in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, people take great personal, right? Oh man, that guy
get your
emotions, because it is emotional sport, because he hit you, like, name is your pride, your ego, right? But taking those emotions, the primal feelings from the game, and be logical about it, right? So okay, if you take everybody as, like, for example, I go against somebody, that's one thing I start doing like later on, is think about the positions, all right? So I'm not thinking about, okay, I'm going against Baby Joe or going against whoever the person is. You cannot, some people take it personal, like, oh man, I'm not, some people don't even talk to you that day, you know what I'm saying? And take that away, man. Think about the position that you're in. Like, you allow that person to get into that position. That's you know, it's just like, I'm going to capitalize like you would capitalize. Anybody in a position will capitalize on the position, a mistake you made, you know? So that's like, if you think about a position itself and not as the person, oh man, you're always going to be friends, always going to be cool, you're always going to be talking to the person, you know? It's not take it as personal, right? I think
we actually try to always talk about that very thing, and I think we've learned it from you, is you know, you're competing against jiu-jitsu. It's my passing versus his guard, not me versus him. Especially in practice, especially with teammates. And the other thing, just to kind of reiterate what you said about, you know, problem solving and overcoming issues, I think we often say you're going to lose. You're going to lose. Does it defeat you or motivate you? If it motivates you, if you fall in the latter category, you'll be a champion, right? Because you're going to lose, and it's how do you respond to losing. So, I mean, I think that's the key, really, to being a champion. And going back to that, so I just wanted to say, so we were talking about you at Draculino's at this point. Are you a blue belt then? And you won a blue belt world championship, right? Was that about that time?
Blue belt actually. When I went to Draculino is exactly when I start like preparing for my SATs per se, right? So I already got my blue belt. So I competed in every single tournament as a white belt, and I won every single one of them. I was blessed, honestly. The reason I competed is not because I competed in Taekwondo, but I really wanted to compete because I was getting pardon my language, is like I'm getting my ass kicked every day. I was like, there's no way. And I thought myself, like, there's no way somebody's gonna beat me worse than this guy's beat me in the gym. At least I want to go against somebody my level and in my size, because I didn't have nobody in my size or my level. Everybody was a blue belt, and I was the only white belt in the gym. So I was like, that's the thing that motivated me to compete, and I kept competing. Listen, this was pretty funny because nobody ever paid attention to me, right? So when I start winning, everybody's like, oh, this guy's actually not that bad. We beat him up, but guess what? He's able to actually to learn something from us, So that's when I started like getting more attention. And then after the year later, that's when I started doing SATs preparation, and then I went to Draculino's. For a couple reasons. One, I wanted to be a world champion. Two, Eric, he was like not as professional, it felt like he was like, because nobody, I think, if I go to like Gracie Barra Knoxville and everybody gets there and I'm not there until an hour later, nobody's gonna stay there. So I think that when I saw that what I saw was no compromise. He was not compromised with me, right? Because if he's not showing up for class, he's not. There's no. I mean, why? So anyway, but I talked to him. It's like I never said that to him because I have a lot of respect to him. Like, listen, I need to complement my training, and I want to go to Draculino because in Brazil you had like it was pretty cool. You had like this the trials. You didn't just go to a tournament. The tournament was a limited spot for each school, and you represent Draculino school there. So everybody, all his students get together. Man, it was crazy because you have like athletes, all different schools. You have like 10 different, 10 different affiliations competing for Draculino. But now they do different. They A, B, C team. But in order to make a good A team to win the championship, what we do, we'll do like put everybody competing against each other.
Yeah.
So
I love that, man. I would like to do something like that even with our own affiliation. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, man. Let me know this is drive people to get better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It gives you something to like work towards. You're like,
oh dude, because because if you think about if your affiliate start competing against each other, you're gonna make each other better. Yeah. Because they know that's gonna be the toughest. It's gonna be way tougher against each other than actually going in the tournament. It was so hard to do the trials that if you go to the trials, basically you're gonna win. So anyhow, we had those, and I met Draculino on those trials because I had to do trials to compete. So anyhow, then Draculino was. I saw that. Then I went there early one day, and I saw he was always there. And then like, oh man, he always here. That's caught my attention, right? So he's always here and everything. So I was like, man, I want to come here as well. So I started going there. I told Eric, like, listen, I need to complement my training. I want to be a world champion. I think just train twice a day, sometimes once a day. It's good, but I want more. And then I started going to Draculino. I was going to Draculino in the morning and then Eric in the evening to complement each other. So I was doing 2-3 times a training a day at a time. And that helped him a lot, because I was really tough, man. When I get to Draculino, I was really, really tough, because I give a lot of people a hard time there as a blue belt at the time. And that boosted my confidence, and I felt like really confident to compete as well. And it was really good. It's really cool that, we were blasting all the Gracie Barra at the time that, to today. That have that, for me it was the coolest thing. And when I went to Draculino, I saw that the commitment, and I feel like, man, I have to keep training here.
Mm-hmm. And you, Draculino was pretty young then too, right? He was like in his probably in his 20s or early 30s, maybe.
Yeah, late. I mean, that was cool because he was late 30s, I think. Yeah, late 30s.
Okay.
And he was getting ready for the competition as well. It was pretty cool at the time.
Yeah.
Did he come up to you, talk to you? Like, did he know like you were one of the up and coming guys, and was like, "Hey, you should try to train full time, try to become a world champion"?
Man, you know the funniest thing, man, is actually good that you asked me that. It's a good question. Like Draculino never cared how much I trained.
Mm-hmm.
Never cared. I mean, he never motivated me one day. Like everything that I got. I mean, maybe because he had like a lot of upcomers, you know, and he had like you know, people that already were champion. But he never came to me, sat down, was like, "Listen, man, you have to train 3 times a day. You're a beast." He never said anything like that. He just like, "Man, you're tough. Keep training, champ." That's all he said.
But you know, I mean, to some degree, your style's a little bit like that. You know, I mean, you tell us that we're good, but you never puff us up enough to where we want to stop training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you tell us enough to reinforce that we're improving, but not so much that we don't feel the need to push. You know, it's kind of like with my kids. They'll ask me like, "Dad, am I good?" David say, "Am I good, buddy? Or Dad, am I good?" And I'll say, "Well, you're getting better." You know,
I'll say this: I've never got a message from Samuel saying you're training too much. You're being lazy, bro. Come on, man. What are you doing? Eating Hardee's and staying at home?
Yeah. Now that part is different than, I guess, the Draculino. You do push us to train a lot.
Yeah.
The part I was talking about was, you know, you don't puff us up because I think you want us to always be grasping for more, always want more, you know?
Which is different in martial arts because a lot of karate schools and like a lot of martial arts schools, business-wise, you want to just tell the person they're doing awesome so that they just keep like coming and paying you, you know? But like, you want to create an athlete, that's not really what you want. You don't want to pump them up all the time.
No, it's like jiu-jitsu is I think jiu-jitsu is, like you said, it's an ego thing, right? And I can tell, like, as an instructor, you probably know this. You're going to look at the students, they had a good day, they're like already looking at everybody's like puff the chest, like, oh man, it was a beast. Man.
They're like a rooster.
We don't need to say anything at that point, right?
Yeah.
I think like guys like, I mean, I see this all the time, you know, like, so you let the training speak for itself, you know, like you give, like, I think for the most important, the coaches, like pay attention on the details and be able to orient them, be able to push their limit. But it's not to boost the ego too much, because I believe there's it just depends. Some people, I do motivate them. They're saying they're really good. They're doing good. Some people I don't as much, because it's like some people get satisfied by the performance and they just start like slacking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh man, I'm doing good. So they start slowing down the training. So it's like you kind of find a balance between, at the same time, giving them a little bit, but not too much, where they're going to be comfortable, you know?
And it seems like going into the competition, you know, right as they're going into competition is the time to really start boosting the ego, because it's like, you know, you use the training time to motivate them by making them always want more. And then you go into the competition and say, you're ready, man. You're ready.
Oh, yeah. That's the part that you want to make sure they go confident the competition about their skill level, you know? Like, you know, matter of fact, I have a funny story about that, man. This is the funniest thing, man. I have this guy, he was training with me. He was like, I have a picture of him with a blue, purple belts. And this guy was paranoid. He was paranoid about everything. So every time he go to competition, he's like, hey, Samuel, you've been training with me, man. You think I'm tough, man? You asking me, man, not one time. The whole trip, he's like, man, I don't know about my game, man. I'm kind of confused about my game. Do you think I'm tough? I was like, yeah, you're tough, man. And then you go stop, ask him. Then you ask me again. Oh, the whole trip. Even before you go sleep, man, do you think I'm going to win, man? I don't know, man. I'm not sure, man. I have a tough time this week, man. You asked me all week about the training and everything. It was pretty funny. And he's one good friend of mine, you know, but that's like part of the coach. One thing that my coach, Eric, like, what is pretty cool, I have the two sides of the instructors, you know. Eric was really good with preparation mentally before competition, you know. Draculino was good, but I think he was too busy, so you give him coaching and everything really well. But Eric, he come to me before the competition, he pumped me up so bad, so much, that I would have goosebumps. That I was like, man, I was fired up. Matter of fact, that like when Draculino, they're both coaching me, but like I went a win streak in my collar belt because of Eric. Like, was hyped me up so much. Mm-hmm. I'll have goosebumps and I'll be like, man, I'm gonna kill it today. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's the part of the coach too. You know, like not only preparing yourself, you're gonna prepare yourself for the competition, but like that, man. Because when you step on the mats, it's really important how you're mentally and how focused you are. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to go on the mats and you have goosebumps and wanted to be there, and you'd be like, I'm gonna crush this.
Yeah. I can remember back in, it was maybe 1998, 1999, I was wrestling, and I had made it to the state finals, and I wasn't yet a state champion at that point, but I was regionally good, you know, and I'll never forget this. I was warming up, and my parents pulled me to the side, and they said, son, you're going to lose this next match if you don't get your head right. I can see the look in your eyes. You're not focused. You are not ready. You're not focused. You're not mentally there. Like you're good enough, but your head's not in it. You better fix yourself. They knew. They could see the look in my, and what had happened was I had made it to the finals and let my guard down a little bit because it was almost like I saw that as the finish line, you know, and it's like I made it, and I kind of I'd kind of become satisfied, even to the point of saying, I mean, shoot, even if I lose, I'm in the finals, you know, I made it to the final. And that's sort of it's just a little bit of a mental breakdown. And that kind of thing is the difference in champion and second place, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, my parents were there to be that voice, you know, for me, but they could see it. And they were, you know, they weren't my coaches, but shoot, there's no coaches that mean more in your life than your parents. I mean, they know you more than anybody, you know? Yeah. So anyways, I remember that very thing and how much it mattered, you know? And I've held on to that for all these years, but thinking back to you and these world championships, you won every color?
Actually, almost every color, honestly. I was actually looking back to my medals, and I was able to go through it. And it happened the same thing to you. I got on a blue belt, and for my first big tournament, like I went with Eric and everything. It was like I had a year of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and it was the same thing. I got to the finals, and I was like, man, I'm here. I couldn't even believe I was going to get here. I was thought I was going to get smashed because I never been to a big tournament, you know. It was pretty, just like you, it's changed my mindset at that point when the blue belt first tournament. And I was like, man, everybody thought I was going to lose, you know. And I thought myself, man, I'm in a world championship. I cannot even know. I mean, I was even happy. I was so happy to be there, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I was going through the brackets. It was 6 matches, and I got to the finals, and I was like, man, I cannot believe I'm here. I'm good. And nobody talked to me about it, you know. And that's one thing I felt. I mean, I was really satisfied with my performance. And I got this guy in the finals. Actually, he had like 4 years of. He was in the blue belt for 4 years, and honestly, it was a terrible finals as well. I mean, so we both doubled our pool. At the time, I was not doing much the berimbolo, and I basically sat down, and he sat down with me. And it was like I never seen this in my life. You know, it was a big tournament, so he went underneath me. When I was double guard pool, he went underneath me. And it was a back call from the referee because I was still in the double guard pool, and he just came on top. And the referee gave me the 2 points. The double guard pool, and I put him in a triangle. Put him in a triangle. I stayed there for 5 minutes in the triangle. Could not finish the guy. So I got an advantage.
Yeah.
And he basically won. That's it. And I was happy about it. And I will never forget his name either, because I always wanted to beat him, because his name was Wesley. He was from Nova União. And I'll never forget it because I want to beat him so bad. And after that national championship, and I knew why I lost, because I didn't want that match as much. I was satisfied and just competing. I really, actually, almost swept him and almost finished him. But in the finals, I don't think he was going to pass out. Actually, matter of fact, those guys from the team, they're all from the ghetto in Brazil. And the guy yelled at him, "If you do not win, you're not even go up in the favela today."
Golly, that's a different type of motivation right there.
Yeah, he's like, you pass out, but if you don't win this.
That was Daisy Fresh before Daisy Fresh.
Oh,
right?
yeah, man. Daisy Fresh, man, those guys, I think, honestly, I have a lot of admiration for those guys, but I think at the same time, you're in America, man.
Yeah, there's more of a fallback plan than
these guys. Man, America just gives you so much to offer to you. You should take advantage. Not take advantage, but per se, but it's just like take the structure that United States of America offers to you in your advantage to be able to optimize your performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do. There are a lot of respect for the guys, but at the same time, it's like, why are you not taking advantage of the structure that the United States offer you? Like you can have a car. You can have like everything. I mean, I don't know.
The guy said like he didn't have like a license and stuff. Like, it was crazy, man.
That was crazy, honestly. I mean, honestly, I came from Brazil with no money, but I was eating, man. I was eating, sleeping. I mean, I was doing that all, like, no way. I mean, if you don't have it's really easy to have a house. I mean, the government helps you to get a house and everything. Man.
I think what it is like sometimes you just get so obsessed with jiu-jitsu that like you forget about every other thing in your life,
I do understand that, but like I believe that
your relationships, everything is just like you're all jiu-jitsu all the time.
Yeah, but the coach, the support. I mean, if I bring it's just like I bring someone from Brazil, right? I've done it before, and leave them at the gym with no AC, no heat, and no food, and expect him to be trained all day and perform well.
No, you're
without getting hurt.
Yeah, they would only last half a day with you and not a whole day.
Yeah, exactly. It's already hard as it is, right?
We were talking about that with Edwin yesterday too. I was like, man, if you lasted 3 or 4 weeks, Edwin, you lasted twice as long as.
You're fine.
Hey, so you basically won worlds. Maybe you didn't win at every belt, but you won it all through the color belts.
Yeah, I did every color belt. After that, man, I didn't lose one world championship until.
And you got your black belt fast, right? Like 4 years.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
Yep. But I got my. Huh?
That's got to be one of the fastest, like, in history.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to get in 3 years. Draculino did not allow me to get in 3 years.
But you know what? You solidified that you were actually a black belt. You won the black belt world championship first year, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks after.
Yeah. So, people sometimes argue with the fast black belt, thing. But I think that, you get rid of that argument when you win. I did a similar thing, not to the same level, but when I was wrestling in high school, you have different divisions. You have like back then anyways, you had like 1A through 4A size school. Then you have 5A school and 6A school. Now they have different. But back then there were 3 divisions, and I was 5A, and I won the state championship the year before, and I was pretty confident I was going to win it the next year. But I didn't want anyone to say that I was only the state champion of my division, not the true state champion. So I was adamant about going to tournaments to beat all the other state champions, so that I could have that, solidify my state championship, right? And I think you did that to a grander scale by winning the worlds the first year. Nobody can say, "Oh man, he got his black belt 4 years." Well, you won the world.
The thing that on that championship was the best thing ever. I mean, because I fought the champion of 2000. It was 2005, right? So I fought back-to-back world champion, 2002, 2003, 2004.
You're still in Brazil at this time, right?
Yeah. I competed all the world champions the previous years at that tournament. Back-to-back.
A bracket right there.
Oh, through the bracket. Through the bracket.
Yeah, I fought the 2002, Then I fought 2003 world champ. Then I fought the final 2004.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool. So I told like the IBJJF's been reposting some old fights recently, and they posted some of your matches from 2010. I think I sent one to you the other day.
Yeah.
That was cool, man. Do you remember that match with
Yeah,
I think it was Gracie Fernandez? That was a crazy match because I was studying that match for like days, man, because I was like, this all has happened to me so many times. It was like that was a crazy match. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember, like with Laércio, pull guard on him, get in the end, that bolo and everything. Then I went for a smash, put a lot of pressure on the half guard there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may do another podcast sometime and just talk just bolo, but
review one of the matches,
yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I want to throw out there real quick, and then I know Joe's got some questions built up, but people don't talk about this a lot. Samuel doesn't talk about it because he doesn't want to boast himself. But I can think of two world-class competitors that everybody knows that you submitted. I'm pretty sure Caio Terra and Bruno Malfacine. Is that right?
Yeah. Fought them, gave them those two. 2006 was pretty funny because, matter of fact, when I won 2005, when it came to 2006, everybody, when I was going to compete against Malfacine in the semifinals in the World Cup, and they came to me and it's like, man, I don't know if you can beat this guy. Everybody thought about Malfacine was going to beat me. I was actually, nobody knows this. There's a backstory here. So Malfacine fought one of my friends, and my friend tapped and he broke my friend's arm. So
he kind of cranked it. He kind of cranked the armbar.
Yeah, he cranked it. My friend tapped and he kept going. So I was like, you know what? Next, if I fight that guy, I'm gonna mess him up. I told my friend that. So in that year, when I compete against him, I didn't want to only beat him. Yeah. I want to choke him out. That was my goal.
That helps you, I think, in competition. When you have that sometimes, I think that actually helps.
Oh, that helps a lot. The motivation, that added extra motivation there to want to beat the person, even beat the person, not only win,
And you submitted him, right?
Oh, yeah. I choked him out unconscious. I bolo him, get into the half guard, and I put Ezekiel on him, and he got it out.
Was this in Brazil? You were in Brazil?
Yeah, in Brazil, yeah.
Now, have you guys had a relationship since then? Or?
Oh, yeah, man. We joke around sometimes. He say, like, man, you're the only guy that choked me out unconscious.
Yeah. I mean, we have to give him his credit. He's obviously an animal.
Oh, man, he's a beast for sure. I mean, he was young at the time, you're both young. I mean, it's all part of it. Like, I think jiu-jitsu, that's the beautiful thing, it's all experience. That thing probably made him better, right? I mean, it definitely did, because when you go through that, hardships, that's one thing about Brazilian jiu-jitsu and teaching not only Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but in life in general. Going through hardships was gonna make or break you, Mm-hmm. And I believe for us, athlete competitors, they'll make us strong, will forge us strong,
Yeah.
So
and then, yeah, go ahead.
I think that made him a better athlete, because he watched me so close, man. It's pretty amazing, because rooster weight at the time, I competed in rooster weight. I could not do it anymore, I cut so much weight. Man, people look at me as like, man, you're sick. Because I cut a lot of weight to do rooster weight. I spent 4 months doing diet. Mm-hmm. It was a rough diet. So, and then 2006 was my last year. I was like, man, I cannot do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one I want to ask about is, I mentioned it was Caio Terra. What's the backstory on that? I mean, Caio Terra's a 10-time no-gi world champion?
Yeah.
I mean, he's legit, man.
He's tough. I mean, he's a smart guy. And he's really cocky at the same time. He thought he was going to beat me in the finals. He's really confident about it because he submitted everybody. And actually, I was kind of skeptical about it. I was like, man, this guy's tough. He's been tapping everybody. What the heck's going on? And he's like, you know what? I'm going to mess him up, man.
There's a common thread there.
because it's like Romulo, I spent before the competition, I spent a month with Romulo training. Every day with him, 45 minutes a session, twice a day. And man, I was like, there's no way this guy's gonna have the pressure and the finesse of the Romulo does. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's like,
oh man, that was a day that was pretty fun to share with you guys. So I was doing a little bit of wrestling in California. So this was in California. I was doing a little bit of wrestling there. And Romulo was doing wrestling as well in Temecula. And he came to me. He's like, hey, Sam, let's do some little bit of wrestling. I was like, man. I was kind of cool. Man, but at the time, that's the thing, a beautiful thing about I watched today, but today I'm a little bit more seasoned. So the things that when you were young and you would think and do, and it go through our mind, then later on when you get more seasoned and more mature, you realize, man, that was a dumb decision. You know? And I really honestly thought, man, I'm gonna take Romulo down today, man. I really thought that I was going to. Man, I went to a double leg, so I like started moving around, you know, tried to use my speed, and I went hard to a double leg. Man, I shot the double leg so hard that when I hit him, I felt like I was hitting a wall, man. Boom! And I hit it, and I actually bounced back, man, like boom. And I was like, what just happened? As soon as I come to realization what happened, man, he was already sprawling on me, man, and tried to choke me out. And I just basically flopped to the side and tried to survive, you know. But it was pretty funny, you know. In my mind at the time, you know how competitive we are. Like that's the thing about beautiful thing. And I'm gonna mention this again because I like to study different athletes, you know, because I want to see because we are crazy. If you are an athlete and you're competitive, we are somehow crazy. Because for us to push our body, that goes beyond a person that does not compete or never competed before anything, will never understand what we put our body, you know, or you know, through it, not only physically but mentally, right? Because you can push your limit. And the same thing was funny because Kobe Bryant was talking about like Shaquille O'Neal, right? He said that Kobe Bryant is so competitive that, and that reminds me and Homer at the same time. Why that's why I'm bringing up the story. And I almost got into, I mean, it was young, testosterone high and everything. You don't care who you're fighting. You just going. And then when I was going against Homer, I mean, it was unrealistic, you know. The guy's a beast, you know, doing open weight. And somehow in my mind, I thought, man, I'm going to beat this guy. That's how a little bit delusional, right? You know, what the same thing Kobe Bryant was like, he fought fist fight Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I'm saying? So when you get that competitive in you, it doesn't matter what it is. You're going.
It's like you're going on it, man. It's like a drunk person just want to fight everybody.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, you know.
So you would say Romulo helped you get ready for Caio Terra. You got with Caio Terra, submitted him. I mean, that's Caio. I would say Caio and Bruno are at least two of the, you know, people that I know of that many Americans would know about because they're still kind of competing or just finished competing.
Yeah.
Would you say those two of the toughest guys you've fought?
Oh man, I mean, I believe right now, I'm gonna tell this, and a lot of people compete today. You know, well, your toughest opponent is gonna be yourself. That's your toughest opponent. Why I'm saying that? You know, before I thought it was like, man, this is so cheesy, right? The reason being is, you see Rafa, all those guys, and Kobe, and you know, just studying the best athletes, you know, Floyd Mayweather, and how much confident are you in the skill? How much confidence? Of course, you have to do your homework, work really hard, and do all that. But like, you can beat yourself mentally before even going on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
I seen
McGregor, man.
Yeah, Conor McGregor. I mean, how he got in Jose Aldo's, mind and mess him up. You know, why that? He was able to perform that because he was so confident in himself and he truly believed in it, made it happen. You know, the affirmation and became the belief, Muhammad Ali, those guys. And I believe that the toughest opponent you're going to fight is going to be yourself. If you can beat that, not only that during the competition, but even the preparation. You know, sometimes you doing the preparations like, man, that's too tough, or oh man, you should just not do that right now. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to push yourself, and then like, no, don't do it. So you find yourself every day. Every day you find yourself and be able to go beyond your limits, be able to wait. Like watching Kobe Bryant for me was like, and I'm telling you guys this, and it was like, I mean, I identify a lot, and people thought I was crazy at the time, and people still think I'm crazy because the amount of time that I spend on the mats, even now, right? And is how much you want it, how much you want to push yourself, how much. I mean, you're gonna find yourself every single day, you know, like on that aspect. And I tell my students, you know, you should like how much you want, how much you wake up like right now. You willing like for example, man, I cannot train, but I'm gonna fucking run 10 miles, man. Oh, I cannot train right now, but I'm gonna 10 miles and gonna push weight as hard as I can, because when I get out of this quarantine, because I cannot train as hard, I'm gonna be a fucking beast.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like competitions after this, like who comes
Yeah,
out.
That's why
Really
I
good
think
shape, or like, you know, or if you just
yeah.
I
And
guarantee there's gonna be some guys dropping off. You know?
oh, separate people. You separate people, and that's what I think. Like what I'm really excited to see, because honestly, watching Kobe Bryant talking about like his schedule, right? Talking about his schedule, he's like real logical about it, because everything is logical. I didn't understand that, and I thought everything was about talented and thing. And it's kind of sad, man. Like it made him a legend that he's no longer with us, right? But a lot of people pick his brain, and he said something that was really caught to me. Why I'm saying that, because I'm watching Jordan. I'm talking about him, and he was pretty funny. And he told me this is pretty funny. It's like not me, but man. And he was like, the guys are telling the public, he's like, man, I went to a practice, and I was there, and Kobe Bryant was already there. He was sweating hard, like he was having the hardest workout. He probably working out for 2 hours prior to the game, and he was already, the guy was there to warm up, and then after that, the guy was warming up as well, and he thought Kobe Bryant was about to leave, and he's like, man, Kobe Bryant stayed there until I was gone. And then after I left, he went to a shower, and I asked him, he's like, hey, man, what was that about? He's like, I want you to know that I work hard, even I went there, and you're there, I'm willing to work way harder than you, and I want you to know that every single time you're in the game. Dude.
Level of competitiveness right there.
Dude, right there, the guy was like, man, this guy's different. You know what I'm saying?
I love Kobe Bryant's mentality, man. That Mamba mentality. I saw this thing where he did a camp, and he did the entire camp, however long it was, a few days or whatever, and he only played with his left hand.
Oh yeah.
The whole camp. He only shot left-handed. He only dribbled left-handed. He handicapped himself for an entire camp. That's hard to do, especially when you don't want to lose as much as he doesn't want to lose. You know what I mean? Like, I can identify with that sometimes as a competitor. You know, I don't fear other people naturally. I just don't. But I fear losing. I hate losing. I hate it so much. And so it's hard to handicap myself knowing that that's going to increase the possibility that I'll lose. That's a true competitor right there.
Yeah, no, totally, completely understandable. And in reality, like, it's funny because I heard the story as well. He's like, and he told us like, man, I hate losing. You saying that, and he's like, but at the end of the day, I made myself better, because he was talking about that. It's like, man, and then in the end, not a lot of people is going to be doing the things that I do, because I move with my right, I can shoot with my right and left, and that was pretty amazing. I mean, for him, you know, and it's like, as I told in 2010 when I was going to compete before the Worlds, and I'm always a big fan. I'm always like watching like before competition the top athletes and get inspired by them, get fired up by them. At the time I was watching and reading about a lot of Michael Jordans, and they have the really similar mentality. And actually, matter of fact, that Michael Jordan call him a little brother. You know, that's what he was guiding him through his whole career.
Yeah.
So, real quick, Joe, we're coming up on an hour and 10 minutes. I know we want to try to keep it not too long. What I'm thinking is this, because there's just so much story to tell, right? And we've mingled in some stories, and we've basically got up to about 2010, right? We've got up to the point where you'd won some world championships. Are you in America at this point?
Yeah, 2010 I'm in America.
Yeah, you've just kind of got to America. Are you in Knoxville? Do you have GB Knoxville?
I was already in Knoxville, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the beginning of GB Knox, right? Around that time.
Yeah.
So as far as the story goes, let's kind of stop right there. So when we have episode 2 with you, we'll talk about building the school and building your Knoxville brand and all that sort of thing. And that way we can have kind of 2 parts, right? The first part is getting us to Knoxville and becoming a gym owner, because that's a new chapter, right? Oh, yeah. Gym ownership is a new chapter in life. Even though you kept competing, it's a new chapter. And we'll do that on episode 2. But I wanted to ask one question of Joe before he asked a couple questions. Joe, you remember the first time you ever met Samuel?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
Man, I was a young, cocky kid. I thought I was the man. And I came in and I got tapped like 10 times by this little Brazilian guy.
Yeah. You're like a blue time. You're like a blue belt at the time, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I was a blue belt, but I was big. You know, I was bigger than I am now. Then, and I was from a smaller school, and I thought I was just really good. And I went over there, and Ezekiel choked, or no, it was a loop choke. He loop choked too much because I went in with my head a lot, you know, and I got loop choked a bunch of times, and I was like, dude, that was crazy. Told everybody about it, and then I was like, man, I'm just gonna dedicate my time here. I don't even think he remembered my name for like the first 6 months. I was like, I did, man. This guy to know my name. I was like, I don't care if I just want to get better. I want this guy to know my name. And then like after that, just dove into jiu-jitsu 100%.
It's so funny you said that. You remember what Edwin said yesterday? He said his goal in the beginning wasn't to be a world champion. It was to be homies with all the world champions. In other words, with all the black belts. In other words, he wanted to be part of the group, man. And really, that is jiu-jitsu is a fraternity, and you do want to be a part of the group. You know, that's interesting. He said that because once he did, I thought about it. I was like, man, I kind of feel like that too. You know, to some degree, I want to be a champion, but you do want to be a part of the group. Did you think in your mind? Did you really believe like? I mean, I know you were a football player. You were a star football player at Maryville. I've seen your picture on some restaurant walls and stuff.
Huge, man.
I don't know if I was a star, but
big guy, right? Big guy, strong.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Did you really believe you were gonna be able to beat Samuel before you rolled with him?
Yeah, I still believe I'm gonna beat him every single time I'm gonna roll with him, and every single time I lose. But like, man, I don't know if you guys are this way, but in my head, like every time I roll with somebody, I think I'm gonna win. I don't care if it's like. I roll with Felipe Pena. I've rolled with Hamalu, all these guys. Like, I literally think I'm going to win every single time. And, like, that's what's amazing about jiu-jitsu is just, like, you find out every time. You're like, okay, I'm not quite there yet. But I found out there was – obviously I knew I was going to lose to Samuel for years. Big Mike's another guy. Like, I knew I was going to lose to him for years. But, I mean, you still – in your head, you think, like, man, I might catch this guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because in jiu-jitsu, you can get caught. Like, I think about that all the time with my students. I'm like, man, they probably think the same thing right now. Like, I'm never going to beat this guy. But, like, at me knowing myself, I'm like, dude, this guy could catch me. Like, I'm getting some guys that are pretty good now. I'm like, I better watch with Glenn. Like, he might catch me, you know? Like,
that's a cool thing because that's a motivation, right? Because I think, like, for the a lot of people ask me why Draculino still I don't think he believes how much I train. I don't think he understands how much I train, but like majority of the people that come, they don't understand how much I train till they're here. but that's the reason, because I mean, I want myself keep myself in shape, not only to push the guys, like I think like for me, I still able to push the guys, my students. And also I think the most important thing is lead by example, right? I mean, I can tell Baby Joe is like, hey man, I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, to do this and this, and then you look at me, man, I'm never in the gym, or I'm just chilling, watch Netflix. I was like, man, this guy doesn't love jiu-jitsu. He never in the gym. He never trains. He likes it. You know what I'm saying?
He loves the idea of jiu-jitsu.
He loves the idea of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
There's people that there are people, and I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm not calling names or anything, but there are people that love the idea of jiu-jitsu, not actually jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like,
and it's like that with a lot of things, really, fitness and tons of things. You could love the idea of it.
Yeah, until you get beat up all day long and then go teach a kids class for 3 hours straight and then go get beat up again, you don't love jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Kids are like getting you to wipe their nose and stuff. Man, but really though, I do, I think that when you do love jiu-jitsu, you love the kids class just as much, because you see the future, man, and you see these kids growing and all of a sudden they're especially me as a father, my two boys, the other day they're doing Barabolo in the living room and they're actually hitting this.
That's awesome.
They're 9 and 6 years old and I'm watching them going, man, it's motivating for me as a father. And I know you guys as coaches and now Samuel as a father recently here with Ella. And, I think that jiu-jitsu and coaching has a funny way of making us tougher and softer at the same time, which is really interesting dynamic, right? Like it causes us to be fighters and lovers of at the same time. And that's a very interesting thing about it as a coach. I'm softer because too.
Yeah, I think like you hit the nail there, because I remember being an athlete. I was like I'm thinking about now, I'm watching the athletes and studying the athletes, because I've been doing this more in this past time now. But usually that's why I distance myself a little bit from social media, because I think that sometimes I spend so much time. I'll be working, but I'll be browsing on social media, and so you spend so much time. So now what I do now, I like to listen to podcasts and books about different athletes and study them instead of going on my phone. And I realized that like the athlete self is you have to be so selfish, and so tough. Where you become a coach, you're like, is it different? You have to soften up a little bit, like, because sometimes it's like you care more about the other people, right? So you care more about other people. You put your students first, instead of yourself. Because, I mean, I want to just get myself better, and I'm going to put all the training, focus on me. Baby Joe is now as a coach, instructor. It's pretty fun that Gary actually posted a picture of him. He's like, Baby Joe drills on me all the time. Mm-hmm. You don't even give a chance to Gary to drill.
Yeah.
Because he's taking advantage of the spare time that he has in getting himself better. Mm-hmm. And now, as you become more and more a coach, you're more given, and I believe that the best part, as you say, the relationship with a father as well, now that I'm a father, is that it goes beyond that. Watching the development of the person that you focus on is like, it's more gratifying than your own, like, it touches you more, you give more like some sort of like way more gratification. And when you see the process getting better, like, and you see like when I train my students, see them giving me a harder time, I feel like at the same time the competitive aspect of me is like, man, I want to win, but at the same time the other side is like, man, that's pretty good, man. I mean, that guy's getting tough, man. I better watch out. So and the happiness at the same time, in excitement for their development.
But personally, I like seeing a coach that was an athlete beforehand, because they, like you said, being selfish. I think that's good to be selfish when you're an athlete, because you risk it, you put it all on the line, and then one day afterwards, you know, or you coach more and stuff like that. But it's like they went through it. So then you can coach better because you can talk to the person and be like,
Yeah,
oh,
you have to share the experience, right? I mean, share the experience is like, and plus this, some of the students that, I mean, or students you have in, you know, you guys are like the, you know, like the core, you guys saw me, I mean, going through the training and going crazy and all the things that a lot of people didn't see it. The mean side of Samuel, you know, the side that's like selfish, the guy that's just going to go at it and like, you know, saying there's a whole
And like
different.
when you had that like you had that like baseball elbow for a while.
Baseball thing going on, like sagging already, like, you know, like, and I think like that's the thing. Like I was watching Kobe Bryant in I mean, when you watch other athletes and you can see like how crazy you are, you know, and being an athlete, like John was talking about, like my elbows has like huge baseball here, and I'm still training. And watching the same thing Kobe at the time, you know, and he's going through his injuries and the years and injuries and trying to recover and trying to stay on top and not accepting to accept, I mean, that his body is like no longer young and be able to do the things that he used to do, right? And it's like, man, I feel the same way sometimes. But now the beautiful thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, guys, I'm talking about this, is that you can train smarter, not harder. And now the sugar is doing the same thing. We talk about this 1,000 times, that the intensity of your training used to be one thing, now it's different. You know, you have and then I go then tape down, right? Because you're gonna pick one train really hard, and usually train with Baby Joe because it's really technical, and Logan and those guys is a hard train, but it's technical. I got the push, got technical push. So those guys I can train hard, but at the same time I have to make sure I'm warm and ready, you know, because it's different, you know. Everything changes.
Me and Logan trained a couple weeks ago, man, and it was just
Man,
like he was telling me the whole time. He's like, dude, my back. I was trying to walk down the road. We were like taking a walk the next morning, like drinking some coffee. He's like, man, is your back hurting right now? Like, dude, this ain't like what it used to be, man. This is weird.
Hey, you guys are young, man. Come on, Baby Joe.
26. You know, Edwin, we were talking with Edwin. Joe asked a good question. He said, you know, like, what would you tell your younger self? And my answer was, you know, my 37-year-old self, one of the things I would say to my young self is take better care of your body, you know, because and I still believe in fighting the war, you know, and being a fighter, but you can be smarter with how you train, and you can take care of your body better. And the time to do it is in the 20s, because in the 30s is when you feel what you did in the 20s.
Dude, yeah.
You know,
totally true.
So let's we got a few more minutes here. Joe, anything you'd like to ask Samuel on the first chapter before we get to episode 2 when we talk about the second?
Man, you guys covered a lot of the questions. That's funny. We didn't talk about before this interview what we were going to ask, you know, but I always I prepared mine beforehand. You covered a lot of the questions that I was going to ask myself. But I mean, based off the interview, I kind of like to hear the interview and then go based off that. Is like, so we're talking about like the competitive spirit, like Kobe Bryant and all that. When the competition goes away, like how do you think a personality like that deals with that? Like, we're all three super competitive guys, but like eventually competition goes away, you know, like where do you put that energy into? I know, like, Samuel, you're doing jewelry now. Like, what have you been up to during the coronavirus? You just studying all the time. Like, that energy's got to go somewhere, you know. That's what I struggle with, is like, where does that energy go when the competition's gone? You know?
So I think the competition is always there, you know, in you. Like, that's one thing when you become competitive person, is going to be always in you. So right now I'm focusing a lot on the jewelry, you know, and it's been really good because I can channel that. But at the same time, I've been exercising as well, keep my body, because you're a machine, you know. If you put a machine that's always working, you slow down the machine. But if you stop the machine and put just something on top of it, a car, and you leave the car is not being used, when you go crank that car, man, you're gonna find some issues right there. So I think that you're the same way, always moving, always keep the ball rolling. But the competition, what I think is I focus a lot right now in better myself. I think, I want to better myself. My goal is like, how can I make myself better? That's my competition to myself. How can I improve in certain areas, like right now as a father? How can I make my daughter a good person and make her the best, get the best potential of her, get the best out of her. That's my goal as well. And I think about I dream about the day we open the doors, honestly, of our school. I cannot wait to go back. And that's my main focus and main battle to come back, checking every day with the doctors, how they're spreading of this disease and watch our country. I'm listen, people say, oh man, you're Brazilian, but living in America for this long, I love America. This is the country that what I have, what I do right now is because of America. So I'm truly American by heart. And, this is the country that I care most, even more than Brazil right now. And I want to make sure that where we live right now is a place for our kids. And I don't want them to live when we left, because we're going to leave this world, right? And when we leave the world, we did our job, to our kids, and leave America, still great country for them where they have freedom, be able to run, be able to have kids, be able to fight for their rights. And we teach them that as well, and teach our youth, the new generation of America, the how work, to how work, take what belongs to you, not let the government give it to you. And my main goal now is make sure that Elle understands that she has to work hard. And my competitive goals on that aspect. And I love America. I told my friend, I was like, listen, man, this sounds crazy, but if I have to fight for America, I'll fight for America. If I have to go for war, I'll go for war for America. That's how I feel today. And then for me, as a being, I feel like a citizen today. My main focus is make sure that, that my daughter's being healthy, my family's being healthy, our school's going to be running, and then we live in a country that's amazing, that I grew up dreaming about being here. And that the country that I dream of every day being here to stay the same.
Mm-hmm. What about that? That's a good answer, man. And this is crazy, man. This Corona thing is like we're living in a movie.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, for guys like us that are super competitive, that's what I wanted to ask you is like, what do you do with all this energy?
My energy being like here, man. I've been spending a lot of time here to get you guys all the jewelry.
Yeah. Busy,
get the bling bling, man. Get the bling bling for you guys.
I was like, man, I haven't heard from Samuel on like Messenger in forever. I wonder what he's been up to. But Johnathan, what about you, man? I know you said you've been reading a lot.
Yeah, I've been reading a whole lot, and it's interesting you say something about how energy, has to go somewhere. I love the idea of that being, a scientist in some point of my life. Maybe not as much now, but when I was younger, that energy does have to be transferred, right? It doesn't really begin or end or stop or start. It's transferred, and for me, I've been, transferring a lot of my energy into books. I'm still working with my regular job. So I'm relatively busy. We're not as busy as I usually am, but I'm still working. And outside of that, man, I'm training some at home,
Jenna.
training with Jenna, training with the
no drilling going on, only like rolling.
We're just rolling. We're just light rolls. Today we worked a little bit of wrestling. We worked some stand-up. I released a video today talking about how you don't have to have mats and a lot of space to work your wrestling, because the head and hand fighting and winning the angle and level is more than half the battle of getting a takedown. So you can work that in your living room with a partner, and you don't even have to have mats. You don't even have to shoot, So there's always work that can be done on your game.
Just smack her.
What's that? Yeah.
Just smack her like up.
there's always work to be done, right, on our game. So I've been doing that, but I've probably spent the majority of my energy in books. I've been reading a lot. I like to study theology and philosophy a lot. I signed up for a couple of new college classes to take some more philosophy. You know, one day I want to run for local office, so I'm preparing for that. And I'm leading a couple of Bible studies, or I'm in a couple of Bible studies. I'm leading one. I've been really busy in the books, working with my kids and Jenna, and I've been writing poetry, man. I know that's weird for me.
Man.
Yeah, but you know what I like about it is when you meditate on something. For me, it's God, it's theology. But to meditate on something is just to think on it. And when you try to put your thoughts on paper, man, it takes it to a whole nother level. And really, it's just, man, it really touches me to think on things in such a way that I can write about them. It's almost like puts you in another place, man, because you focus so much to get your thoughts onto paper. So that's something I've been doing to kind of ease some of the tension and the stress that goes along with what we're facing right now. You know, because there is some worry, you know, with the economy and the virus as well. But for me personally, you know, it's been more economic worry because I haven't been exposed to the virus in any way that I know of. So that's what I've been doing, man. I've been pouring my life into the intellectual side of things, probably more than any other thing during this break.
Love it, man. Next time
like I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like was one thing like about like you know, like be inspired and everything, like do you usually pray to get inspiration, or you just come from like thoughts?
No, I do. I pray. And what I often do is I read scripture, Bible, you know, and I pray that, right? Because a lot of times I don't know exactly what to pray. I mean, some of my prayers are asking God for something in particular, you know, but a lot of times I pray scripture because I believe that that's his word. So it's in a sense, I'm repeating back what he said in the form of like a worshipful prayer. And that soothes my spirit, man. That makes me, it gives me peace to take the word that I've been given, I believe, from God, and say it back. It's like it's in a similar way to repeating a mantra or something like that. You know how people have a saying that they say over and over again? For me, I like to meditate, think on scripture, and in that be praying as I'm thinking on it, and then take that and try to put it in some form or fashion sort of into my own words and write poetry. So I'm not trying to rewrite the Bible, but I'm trying to write my thoughts based on what I've learned from that scripture. So it's kind of all goes together. It's like a praying, meditating, thinking, scripture study, and then writing. And that has done a whole lot for my, you know, really for my soul and my peace.
That's really good, man.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, like you said, you know, like, and I've actually got be praying a little bit more than I usually do, you know, as you have more time, and like, and it's really amazing, you know, like what you said, because sometimes we, like, I don't know about you, but experiencing with God, right? And sometimes we get a little bit away, you know, not away, but not as close to God. And I believe the closer we get, is like just give peace to our heart, you know what I mean? Like soothing us. Like it's so amazing, you know, like listen to the gospel, and or even to the songs, you know, that like edifying or God, and actually peace, give us a peace, you know. It's pretty amazing, you know. And I think that's like really important for us around this time, because, you know, it's a stress, right? You know, if you think about the whole situation, it's a stressful situation, and it just God, man, to keep us cool and calm, and be able to, you know, do his work on ourselves, you know.
I think we're all going to come out of this. It's either much like what we said earlier. Does losing defeat you or motivate you? And I believe that the great majority of us will come out of this stronger, because
Sure.
we've spent more time with family. We've spent more close time, reading, studying, working on our body, you know, and we've grown hungry. We've grown hungry for jiu-jitsu, hungry for that mat time. And I think for those that persevere through this, we're going to come out stronger mentally and physically. Even if you're rusty a little bit with your game, your mental and physical toughness and tenacity, I believe it's going to be on another level when this is all over.
Oh, I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree. It's gonna be awesome it's been awesome. Honestly, I spent a lot of time with the family and that aspect, of course. And of course, there's, like you said, you know, the worrisome. We are worried. Not, you know, is normal to be worried about because we are humans. You know, stressed about. But in reality, this has been good because in an aspect of spend time with the family. You know, I've been closer to God. You know. And I think like one of the beautiful thing that's like you know, I ask God, right, things, you know, and it's amazing because if you look at the disciples, none of the disciples are the same, you know. They're not equally the same. Jesus picked his disciples for different reasons, and I believe like sometimes I ask God like why sometimes. I don't think be mad sometimes certain things and be angry sometimes it's not a big thing, you know. It's how you go about it, you know, and let God work through you, you know. And this was really, really good learning aspect that I've been going through all this months, you know. I feel like you're being, honestly, I feel it's been 6 months here. I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been 6 months on this.
Weird, man. The
You
time,
know?
you can't even put perspective into time anymore.
Yeah. And I believe that, you know, like you said, you know, it's like this is being a good learning lesson because I think like jiu-jitsu, you know, we're learning. It's learning and winning. And I think this whole situation, you learn a lot. It's going to be a really learning process. Hopefully, you know, I'm praying to be May 1st when everything start getting better, you know, and we be able to open. But you know, pray about that and like things follow through, you know. But I'm praying for May 1st. May 1st things to go the way, hopefully the way it's going, and we can start the ball rolling again.
Yes. Awesome, man. Well, I had one more question, but I think that seems like a good place to end it at. Those are some good answers. I like it.
Yeah, I think when we do open back up, man, I believe we'll look back and go, we grew during that time.
Oh yeah.
You know, we grew in wisdom, we grew intellectually, we grew in spirit, and we grew hungry. And if all those things happen when we get back on the mats, man, there's going to be some serious jiu-jitsu growth that takes place because of all of that. You know, I believe that's going to happen.
And I think like this is like, it's just like jiu-jitsu, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, everybody's going, you know, it's a hardship no matter what, you know, no matter how it takes, you know, like it's a hardship. And that's what the beautiful thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, you're going through hardships, you go to the mats with people almost choking you out, you try to fight them, fight those situations, you know. And man, beyond that, you know, we're American, man. You're the best country in the world. You're the strongest, you know. No matter what comes to us, against us, and you prevail, you know. And keep, you know, do our job, praying, doing the good work, you know, and let God work through us. And yeah, man, this is the best country, you know. I said it many times, 1,000 times, and I love America. And we're gonna go through this, go back to the mats, and God bless us, man.
Yeah. So last thing I'll say, Joe, and then I'll let you close us out. So next episode, and we'll get that scheduled right away because I know people are going to watch this and say, hey, I want to know what happened once you got to America and how you opened the academy, because people have always been interested in the fact that you're in Knoxville and all that sort of thing. So we're going to get there on the next episode. And I'll throw in there just a little preview of what it was like when I first met Samuel. You know, I'd seen the UFC. I knew about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'd even trained a little bit before I came, but I wasn't a believer yet. You know, I had that wrestling kind of spirit. And look, I love wrestling. Don't get me wrong. And I think wrestling belongs in Jiu-Jitsu. But before you really get into it, you can have a little bit of a preconceived notion that you don't need Jiu-Jitsu because you're a wrestler, if you will. And I kind of had that belief. and Samuel made me a believer. And I'll leave it at that for now, but we'll get into that in episode 2. Joe, you got anything else to close out?
No, this was awesome, guys. I'm glad you guys are my friends, and I'm happy we could do this, man. This
was awesome, guys, for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity, for sure. This was good, man. It was amazing. You know, go through moments, you know, there's relive the moments, you know, because that's what memories are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Relive the moments and look back, and this is gonna be all. I mean, when you think about this, what we're having today here, this talk, you know, and when you're gonna look back, you know, after all this past, you know, you'll be in a better place for sure, and you know, you'll be like, man, remember that time, man? They were like to have those online meetings and stuff, and you know,
I feel like we could do 1,000 of these, man. We could do one of these every.
Yeah, they're actually a lot of fun, and I'll get the next one scheduled right away. We'll talk about all those things about opening an academy and what that's like. We'll tell some more stories, and these will be stories that some of the people that we know, and they'll laugh about them when they hear them, and maybe we'll talk about where some nicknames came from, because everybody always likes to hear that.
That was fun.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some competition stories, maybe talk about me going crazy that time that Logan and Baby Joe won that tournament in Tracy, Tennessee, and I was like the hype man. I was going nuts, you know, and then Samuel almost beat up that guy in the parking lot because he was trying to fight us. You remember that? I mean, but Samuel kept his cool. He just warned him really good, and the guy left, you know. So we got some stories to tell next time. But until then, that's all I got, guys.
Let's
I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
See you.